I don't know if you had a case of deja vu when you read this passage, but of course we've read something very similar to it twice. Jesus talks about this in Matthew, he talks about it in Mark. The Gospels are really like kind of different newspapers reporting on the same event. So we will find the same things come up over and over again. I just wish that they didn't always come up when I was doing the videos. Like, why can't Ali get the passage about the end of the world? But in these passages, what Jesus is saying is he's talking about two things, which is why sometimes it's a little bit complicated. The first one is the destruction of Jerusalem, which happened around 70 AD. And the second one is the end of the whole world, which hasn't happened yet. And he's kind of prophesying that Jerusalem is going to get eventually destroyed, which it did. And then he goes on and talks on a bigger scale about what's going on in the world and God's plans throughout history. And he gives these really specific instructions to his followers. And some of them are just great for us to just read again and just immerse ourselves in just for a few minutes. So how about this one, verse 14? But make up your mind not to worry beforehand how you will defend yourselves. Isn't that amazing? Like, my life would be so much more peaceful and stress-free if I made up my mind beforehand. I will not worry about this talk. I will not worry about how I'm going to communicate something when I'm chatting to my friend about who Jesus is. I'm just going to decide not to worry about that. Not because Jesus' motto is, oh, just don't worry, be happy. That's not his motto. His motto is, don't worry because I'm going to help you. That's the second part. And so he says that the very next thing is, for I will give you words and wisdom. And trust that Jesus will give you words and he'll give you wisdom when you need it. And that principle applies to every part of life as well. Elsewhere, Jesus talks about don't worry about what you're going to wear or what you're going to eat, or because your Father knows what you need and he will provide. So what are we worrying about today? What are those things? Bring them to him, deposit them in his hands. Say, take care of these things, Lord. I need you here. I'm going to make my mind up not to worry about this anymore. And then another little great bit that I love is the bit in verse 34. Be careful or your hearts will be weighed down with carousing. Have you been carousing recently? Drunkenness and the anxieties of life. And that day will close on you suddenly like a trap. And what Jesus is saying is the day when you stand face to face with the Son of Man, with who he is, that will just, in the blink of an eye and with a click of a finger, suddenly appear. And we can become distracted by partying, which is just what carousing means, by getting hammered, by just the anxieties of life, and we can begin to drift away from remembering what's important, and we lose perspective on what really matters. And what matters is that from the beginning of history, in the beginning, God creates the heavens and the earth. To the end of all things, God is ruling and reigning, and we have a part to play in his plan. And today it's just worth remembering that, being careful to be mindful of what he might be asking us to do.